My life be like, ooh, yeah, ooh. My life be like, ooh, yeah, ooh, yeah, ooh. My life be like, yeah, ooh. My life be like times like these that make you say, yeah, Lord, if you see me, please come my way.
From Baton Rouge, Louisiana, please welcome Peter Mata.
My life be like times like these that make you say, yeah, Lord, if you see me, please come my way. Like leaving breadcrumbs for when I stray. Yeah, I'm sacrificing the price you pay. Like living like a fingertip. Sometimes I fall, I slip. Yeah, my heart feels I need more like you. Try not to put the fire with the things I like. Be like times like these that make you say, yeah, Lord, if you see me, please come my way. Like leaving breadcrumbs for when I stray. Yeah, I'm sacrificing the price you pay. Like living like a fingertip. Sometimes I fall, I slip. Yeah, my heart feels I need more like you.
Right, welcome in everyone. It is your Anaks, Ryan Rama and Peter Mata. We're here for some podcast action, and we're going to be talking about some NBA.
Yes,
A lot of NBA talk today. We're going over what has transpired from the last time we've spoken, Peter, and our predictions for the finals and moving forward. I'm ready to go. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing good, Ryan. How are you? How are you, viewers? Thank you all for subscribing and liking and everything like that. I just want to say that first. Y'all been great. The
Yes.
channel has grown wonderfully. But yeah, I'm doing great and looking forward to talking about this. The NBA is still in the bubble. And so,
Still, yep.
yeah. I think we talked about it a couple months ago.
I'm glad you shouted out our subscribers, Peter, because we're so thankful and you guys have grown tremendously over these few short months that we've started this channel. And Peter, with all of your golf stories, I mean, it's been fantastic, and these podcasts too. So we're excited to see where the future is going to take us with this channel. NBA talk. NBA talk. So we had our predictions back when we did our last NBA driven podcast. And now we're already in the finals. You know, 2 teams left. We got the Lakers, we got the Heat. Peter, first we'll start off with this. We'll do a little backtracking.
Okay.
How did those predictions turn out? You know, back when we did our predictions a few months ago, how did they turn out for you, Peter? Let me hear it.
On the player side, I think we did awesome, dude. Like when we did the podcast, I think it was late July. The NBA hadn't even really started that much. And looking at the player awards, I think each of us just missed one. I chose a co-rookie of the year, Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. It ended up just being Ja Morant, which is fair. I kind of swung for the fences on that one, hoping Zion would play better as he got in the bubble. That didn't happen. But in terms of Sixth Man of the Year, we both got Montrezl Harrell right. Most improved player, Brandon Ingram. Shout out to him. Pelicans, man. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo won the Defensive Player of the Year. We saw that coming. The MVP, though, we differed. However, I chose Giannis Antetokounmpo because that was my head choice. My heart wanted to choose LeBron James just because sentimental choice. He's an old man now, 35 years old, at least that's what they say. He's old, and he's still producing at an MVP candidate level. And, you know, looking back at it, he probably should have won it. And I kind of want to hear your thoughts on all this, all the players, predictions that we had, and now the results that we have. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'll start off with the rookie, Ja. I mean, deservingly so, got it. I think given the fact, and we mentioned this earlier, given a full year for Zion, I mean, that race is tough.
It is.
And who knows, Zion might as well have gotten that award. But fortunately, you know, Zion dealing with the injuries to start the season, Ja had that full season. And to take them into even that play-in game, I think it was deserving for Ja. Moving along to Montrez. Regular season, amazing. Oh my
Beast.
goodness, amazing off the bench. Him and Lou Williams, that tandem. You know, now they're both Sixth Man of the Year award winners, deserving regular season. I say that with large emphasis. Regular season, amazing. And then Defensive Player of the Year, Giannis. I mean, we spoken a lot about what the Bucks had done in the regular season defensive wise and shutting teams down. So I think deserving, although I do think that Anthony Davis also deserved at least a shot at that award. And then Ingram, phenomenal improvement. I mean, me being a Laker fan, seeing his youth, you being a Pelicans fan, seeing how much he's grown this year, amazing, well deserved. But yeah, I think the hot topic and the hot debate definitely comes down to that MVP between Giannis and LeBron. And, you know, I'm not discounting Giannis in any shape or form, but I think that the fact that LeBron only received 16 first place votes, 16, that's a massive disrespect towards LeBron and what he's done. You mentioned it, 35 years old. So I think that's where the most heat comes from, is just from the fact that Giannis won in a landslide, if you will.
Right.
And you know, when I look back at it, that's fine, because at the end of the day, Giannis is sitting in, I don't know, Milwaukee, or maybe he went back to Greece, but he's sitting in his home right now. He's not at the bubble, and LeBron's still at the bubble. We're going for that real chip, and I think that LeBron would trade in an MVP. Although LeBron was very mad, he was very upset at that 16, only getting 16 votes. But I think LeBron, any day of the week, would trade in a Larry O'Brien trophy for a MVP trophy all day. So
for sure,
that's that. But moving into how the team wise, our predictions. I know that looking back at it, I mean, some of them I look back and say, man, what were we thinking? But at the same time, a lot of our picks hit, and a lot of our picks, you know, they unfolded the way that we thought. I want to hear your reaction to some of your picks and my picks as well to that.
Sure. So I think we were, again, in that podcast, we were very similar on our choices. In terms of dark horse for the East, we both picked the 76ers. But that's only because of record-wise. I think everyone knows that their talent, you know, they underachieved this year, and rightfully so. They fired the coach, and we'll talk about this in a bit, but they just hired Doc Rivers. This is literally breaking news as we talk. But, you know, honestly, if the Heat had been, you know, maybe a worse record than the 76ers, I would have chosen them because I believed in them that much. But this whole year, seemingly they've overachieved. And we'll talk a little bit more on that. But the 76ers, I think it was a bold choice, but it ended up hurting us because Ben Simmons got hurt. So, you know, what can you do there? Injuries, man. In terms of my dark horse on the West, I chose the Pelicans. Very sentimental choice because I'm a Pelicans fan. Really thought they could pull it out. But when you have Alvin Gentry as your head coach, you leave a lot to be desired. And rightfully so, he's been let go as well. Good guy, as everyone always says. He's a really good dude, but just didn't get the job done as a head coach. So that was a bad pick, but, you know, I went for the fences once again. I liked your pick, the Mavericks. They put a great fight against the Clippers. Doncic was awesome. You know, what can you say? The man was in his playoff debut and put up some numbers. I know it's different. It's in the bubble. There's no fans around, but he put up some great numbers. He put up a great performance. They won games, and they pushed to the brink a team that was one of the favorites. You know, and it was definitely one of my favorites in terms of who's going to win. Very disappointed in the Clippers. You know, looking back at it throughout this whole year, they just struggled with, I guess, injuries, so to speak, but really the whole load management thing really backfired on them. You know, obviously they couldn't have predicted that COVID-19 would have hit and they would have gone this big-ass break. But still, you know, you got fresh legs now. You come back into the bubble ready to go, and they just didn't get it done. They never got the chemistry going. And you can blame the star players. You can blame the coach. You can really just blame everyone on that. And rightfully so, they fired Doc Rivers and are moving on to whoever, probably going to be Tyronn Lue is what I'm predicting. But Yeah, it's very disappointing to see them fall like that. I really had them going far. And then obviously I think everyone's biggest surprise was the Milwaukee Bucks. Just not even getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. They never got the rhythm back from the regular season. I think they're one of the teams that they look back and say, man, this COVID-19 was some BS for us. And, we got robbed that year. So we'll see. Hopefully Giannis has said he wants to stay in the Bucks. I'm for that. I would like him to stay and try to do his best there and win it. But, yeah, that's just my thoughts. Obviously the Lakers were the favorites. They got there. And, when you have AD and LeBron, that sort of talent on the NBA court, as long as you stay healthy, you should go far. And they are right now. They're still going. So that's my thoughts. What do you think, Ryan? What do you like or dislike about your picks from a few months ago?
Yeah, I like your take on some of the picks right there, Peter. And I mean, this bubble, we've seen things that have never been done. I mean, we talk about 3-1 a lot, right? Down 3-1 in a series and how unlikely it is for that specific team to come back. Denver did it twice. They did it against the Jazz, and then they did it against the Clippers. We didn't mention Denver at all in our initial podcast because, I mean, yes, they were the 2 or 3 seed at the time, but we couldn't really buy into that. But right. I think that they were super, super impressive. And I think given, and as you mentioned with the Bucks, how they're upset, the fact that, COVID had that effect on, not having that home court and so on and so forth. I think Denver relished in that.
Yes.
The fact that they kind of just, I mean, young team, not too much experience playoff wise, but I think they reminded me a lot about or of a like a Cinderella story in March Madness. Not necessarily like, one of those 16 seeds or 15 seeds making a run, but a team that not a lot of people expected to make some noise or disrupt things by any stretch, but they definitely did. I mean, against the Clippers, they were down, double digits in many of those games, and they had to come back. And I know I'm going a little bit off tangent because I didn't have Denver as one of my picks, but I mean, that in a normal year, I mean, they're not doing that 2 series in a row. They're not winning 6 elimination games in a row. It's just not happening. So I have to put that into context as well. Because like I said, the Clippers and the Lakers, everyone was expecting them to meet in the Western Conference Finals. Everyone was. But yeah, looking back at my picks, I mean, Dallas, I'm really impressed with Doncic. And we spoke to this point and how, I didn't really watch him to that extent. He always received a lot of hype and praise for some of the plays he's made. But I think from a leadership standpoint and where he's at age-wise, I mean, so much talent. Talent is going to be endless and potential is going to be endless. And that game winner, my goodness. And so that pick I'm very satisfied with. And then Houston pick, I mean, they scared my team to death game 1. And I know Lakers game 1 is usually a feel-out game to a large extent, a little bit too much to where we really allowed Houston to get that 3 ball going. But
yeah,
I mean, they were good. They were good. I think after that game 1, Lakers really pretty much put a stranglehold on that series, and it was never in question after that. So that pick, again, I'm not straying away from it. And then the Lakers Bucks, as I mentioned, I mean, Bucks just total collapse. And so looking back at our picks, I mean, the one that stands out is my Lakers because we're still here. I remember, Peter, you brought out a broom when Lakers went out.
I was just cleaning my room, sir.
I respect that. But coincidence? I know Charles Barkley also said it was a guaranteed pick.
I didn't guarantee anything. I was just cleaning my room. It just happened to be on there. I don't know. Good for the Lakers.
I don't know. We've been. That's fine. I know what you did, Peter. You brought out the broom so that the Lakers can do a nice little gentleman's sweep, and that's exactly what we've been doing every series. And I really hope the Heat give us a chance to do the gentleman sweep. Otherwise, it's just going to be a straight up sweep. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself right now
Right.
as we're going over some of our predictions and how it went. But yeah, I'm just impressed with the Lakers. Again, game ones have been a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Not yesterday, but previous game ones have been a different story. So that's why I was a little bit shaky throughout. But we've pretty much handled each series after that convincingly.
We didn't give a shout
Peter,
out to the Celtics too. I know we both picked them.
Celtics, we picked them. They were both our both our contender picks, and they did contend. They did keep up, but I think that the Heat, they were playing so well.
Mm-hmm.
They were unmatched, and but Boston definitely years to come. Tatum is still so young. Their core, as long as they stay together with Tatum and Brown, I think they're missing a real big man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Taco Fall, but he's a little bit too big. but still, I'm impressed with Boston in that young core. I mean, they're still so young.
I will say about Boston, I do think I've said this last time about how their talent kind of collides with each other, and it's not necessarily like conflict-wise, like with Kyrie and everything, but I think they're all good dudes and they like each other. I just think Brown and Tatum cancel each other out a little too much. And if you need, in terms of better fitting, I think a guy like Bradley Beal, if they brought him instead of Jaylen Brown, I think that would have been a perfect fit for them. And like you said, they also do need another big guy. They probably shouldn't have let go of Al Horford, but that's their decision. They want to go in a different direction. But yeah, Boston's got a really young core, really good young core. I think they're missing that little that little chemistry, something to get them over the top.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on. So we talked about teams that have surprised us or impressed us, if you will. Player-wise, Peter, who has someone that we haven't really mentioned to this point have really broken through their shell and impressed you?
Yeah. Well, I'll save the Miami Heat one for we're going to talk about the finals here, obviously, on this podcast. So I'll save them for that discussion. But really, we'll get back to Denver and Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray has impressed me so much during this postseason. Obviously, beating out Donovan Mitchell in the series, leading them against the Clippers, and even against the Lakers. I mean, that layup, that was MJ-esque. His layup package is pretty sick, and he just impressed me so much. I mean, his shooting ability has improved so much from when he came into the league. Look, I was a Pelican fan, and we were looking to draft him, and I was a little uncertain, but I did like his potential, and what I'm seeing right now is pretty much what we thought his potential could be. So seeing him break out like that and really, put out his production like that was really awesome to see for him. Leading Denver, I really just think Denver's just missing that, an athletic four, almost like a Zion Williamson to go with that shooting guard, and obviously Jokic.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
give Porter a few years as long as he's able to stay healthy, because I think that, to your point, exactly, Peter, they were missing that wing player, athletic wing player. Although Porter was able to contribute at times, you saw what they were capable of when he's contributing, but he's still not at that stage in his career.
I was about to say I was a little disappointed with Porter, but if I'm Denver, I'd look into investing in his development, because I think he could be that 3-4 athletic dude that goes well with that shooting guard in Murray, and then that center with Jokic. So, the future is bright. They have nothing to hang their heads on. They beat two teams going against down 3-1. So, and they made it to Western Conference Finals when really we didn't even think they were going to go there. So, hats off to them, Jamal Murray, Jokic, that whole Denver team, really. And like I said, I'll leave the Miami Heat discussion, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and such, till the final stock. Who's impressed you, Mr. Rama?
Yeah, so I'm going to piggyback on you, Peter, and Jamal and Jokic. I have to give them a shout out. I mean, future is so bright for them as well, and Jamal too. He's taken that forward step, and I think that first round matchup against Mitchell, I mean, phenomenal matchup. I mean, both guards with so much skill set offensively. that's going to be a treat for years to come. Hopefully, down the line. But Jokic too. I mean, big man wise, I mean, my goodness, he's got that IQ dishing it out, and I mean, he seems to always make that right play. And I was super impressed with Jokic and how much he's shown throughout these playoffs here in the bubble, and yeah, going to your point as well, Peter. A lot of the other guys are still playing in the bubble, so I'll hold my breath really quick, and we can have a discussion on that when we reach the finals talk, which is just about now. But any other, or actually, we'll do this. We'll do top 3 Ayun moments.
Ayun.
Ayun. Ayun.
Remind the crowd about Ayun.
Yeah. So we'll do these Ayun moments from time to time. We'll try to make them in every podcast. If not, forgive us. But Ayun moments are going to be a moment that caught our attention. Could be good, could be bad, could be funny, could be downright disrespectful. But these are just moments that have caught our attention. Peter has his own Ayun moment. I have my own Ayun moments, and we like to showcase that and bring that to the table. So right now,
makes you say Ayun.
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 So right now, Peter's going to give me one of his Ayun moments. We're going to do 3 each, but so far in the bubble, since we've last had our podcast, what is your number one, or not number one, but what is one of your Ayun moments?
I have mine kind of in order. I don't know. You don't have to have yours in order, but
We'll do that. We'll do that. I have mine in order.
Yeah,
as well.
okay.
Okay, so
my number 3 Ayun moment was OG Anunoby's game winner against the Boston Celtics. So he plays for the Raptors. Down by, I believe, 2 with 0.5 seconds to go. And they're down 2-0 in the series. About to go down 3-0. About to get bounced out the bubble. He said no. Kyle Lowry with the Hail Mary pass to the corner. And he just catches it. Bloop, just like tips it in from 3-point land. And then walks off like nothing happened. Just an epic 3-pointer. Epic way to finish that game. And you know what? They're the champs, the defending champs. Gosh, that's the heart of the champion right there. Because then they not only did they avoid going down 3-0, they made it a series and damn near won the whole thing. So, hats off to them. OG Anunoby. That was an Ayun moment. Made me say Ayun.
I mean, perfect timing, because that's my third Ayun moment as well, Peter. And I'm glad that we can just discuss it fluidly right now, as you just mentioned it. What a shot! What a play! I mean, we talk about Brad Stevens, and he's a great coach. Don't get me wrong, but interesting dynamic that he had set up for that play. He had Taco Fall on the inbounder. He had Taco Fall on Lowry. But I mean, if you're gonna pick Taco Fall, you got to make him like up on Lowry.
Right.
And Taco Fall was moving around. Like, it gave that window of opportunity for Lowry to just put that on a silver platter on a dime for OG, who, like you mentioned, he just really had to just go up with it. He didn't have time to gather himself. And that baby went in. And that whole series changed and shifted. And it ended up being one of the best series of the playoffs. And that shot was the reason why, and that whole play, I should say, is the reason why.
Changed the momentum.
Shout out to that. That was, I mean, very rarely do we have these buzzer beater iconic moments. And that's why when we do, we remember them for lifetime. And although it didn't end in a particular fashion that the Raptors wanted it to end, I mean, I think that still goes into that lore of
a la Derek Fisher. Almost.
A la Derek Fisher. I mean, that year we didn't win it all. You know what I mean? We didn't win it all that year, but at the same time, 0.4 on the clock. I mean, you're making a Fisher reference. It'd be unjust for you not to do so.
Exactly.
And so I think that this shot, it was an amazing shot. It was a great shot. And it was Ayun moment, that's for sure. So both of our third Ayun moment was OG Anunoby's shot against the Boston Celtics.
Well done.
Peter, what's your number two? What's your number two Ayun moment?
Number 2, we mentioned him earlier. We mentioned that shot. Luka Doncic. Game winner. Buzzer beater. First round against the LA Clippers. What can I say about the dude? People have been hyping him up like crazy since his first year, since he came in the draft. And, the series, down 2-1. They're down in the game. He comes up clutch. He's having a hell of a game at that point. I believe he finished with 43 points, 17 rebounds, and 13 assists. Hell of a game. And to cap it off with that, just icing on the cake. And goodness me. I mean, what can you say? I mean, at that point, they tied the series 2-2. You would think, oh, damn, they've changed the momentum, just like in that OG Anunoby in the Toronto Raptors. They changed the momentum. They have a really good chance of really pulling this thing out. Fortunately, they didn't, but still hell of a moment that made me say, Ayun.
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 What a moment. What a moment it was. I'm going to stick to the trend. I'm not sticking to that was my number 2, but I'm sticking to the trend in buzzer beaters being Ayun moment. So my number 2 Ayun moment was AD.
That's your
the
number
brow
2.
Bang. Yes, sir.
Ayun.
So AD, big shot, game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. First, I want to get this out of the way as well. We should have never let Denver back into the game. I mean, we had a pretty solid lead throughout that game, and something that we've seen with this Lakers that concerns me, and I'll touch more on this point later, is that sometimes we get a little bit too complacent when we have those leads, allow those teams to come back. Exactly what Denver does. I mean, and they had the lead, and we just had one shot left. Luckily, we were able to even have a chance at it. Jamal Murray had a tremendous defensive play. Fortunately, couldn't save the ball to keep it in bounds. So it gave us a chance. Ball goes to AD, someone who doesn't really have a playoff moment, signature playoff moment, and he's able to get his first of many signature playoff moments with that 3-point buzzer beater. We took a 2-0 lead at that point, and although Denver was able to get one game out of the series, like I mentioned, they were never really in control. Lakers had that series pretty much on lock after that point on. AD, brow bang.
As much as I hate to admit it, because he left the Pelicans in New Orleans, but that is my number 1 Ayun moment. So to stick with that, fluid talk. He hasn't been there before. Hasn't been to the Western Conference Finals. He hasn't had that signature moment, though. He did have a awesome game-winning shot against Oklahoma City Thunder way back when. A little shout-out to that moment. That was an awesome moment. You see all these potential with AD going up, growing into the league, and you're just waiting for that moment, waiting him to break out. And, that might be the shot, dude. That might be the shot to really give him that confidence. Wish he had the confidence here. But that's another talk for another day. But, hell of a shot that makes you say, Ayun. They took a 2-0 lead. 2-0 lead, man, and that really turned the tide for them.
Ayun. That play, amazing. Amazing. And this play that I'm going to bring up right now.
How can you have one ahead of it?
It was your number 2, so we just flip-flopped. No. I have Luka the Don. His game winner I have as number 1. Amazing. You touched on it a second ago, but amazing shot against the Clippers. Really, no one had much faith in the Mavs putting up a fight. And I think Doncic just proven with that shot and his play throughout the series that he is going to be pretty much a top 3, top 5 player for the next 10, 15 years, given, health, obviously. But to make that shot, it looked like, LeBron shot over Orlando in 2009. It looked like Lillard shot over Houston to win the series. It was around that same general area, benches just erupt. And just the overall feel for that shot, given the fact of how young he still is, over the Clippers, over Kawhi, who has just won the Finals MVP the previous year, over Paul George. I mean, over all of these guys, Clippers are the outright favorites in the bubble. No fear. In overtime, too. So he was probably gassed. He was probably, running on fumes at that point. And for him to pull off that shot and that game, I mean, it was a game of runs pretty much. Dallas would go up, Clippers would come back. Dallas would go up, Clippers came back. And I think Clippers, they took a lead late in that game, and you would think, oh, this is it. This is it. Mavs are still not there yet, and Doncic is still not there yet. But for him to make that shot, oh, goosebumps. I will remember that for a long time.
Dude's a beast.
That is why it is my number one Ayun moment since the last time we've talked.
I do like Luka Doncic. I will acknowledge what people do say, or even my little opinion about him. So I think, I don't know necessarily if he has even more in him. I think he'll just stay consistent where he's at, which is awesome. He doesn't need to change anything. It's dominating as is. But just because of his athleticism, I don't see if he can push it even more further. Could be wrong. Just a little TBH, just insert there. But hell of a moment. It made both our lists. That made me say Ayun.
Ayun. So there it is. Our 3 Ayun moments to this day. I mean, they were all pretty much buzzer beaters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
they were.
At the end of the day, I mean, great plays all around. Great plays. And that doesn't discount anything that we haven't mentioned, because I've been very, very impressed with the type of basketball that we've received in the bubble. But we're down to 2 teams. We're down to the Lakers representing the Western Conference, or as I call it, the Bestern Conference. And we got the Miami Heat representing the Eastern Conference.
Eastern Conference.
Eastern Conference. So I want to get your pre-series prediction. So take out, backtrack before yesterday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. your time. Backtrack before that. What was your prediction going into this series, Peter, of how this was going to unfold?
Well, I mean, just this whole postseason, first off, has just been so quick. I mean, shoot, they won the game, and like bing, bang, boom, it's the finals already. And there's
bing, bang, boom.
There's another game tomorrow. So we have a very tight schedule, so this was the only time we could schedule it. So, but going in to the finals, like I said earlier, when you have LeBron James and AD on the basketball court together, that's a tough duo to go against. And if they're healthy, there's no reason why they shouldn't be the favorites, no matter what their supporting cast is. And, well, I was about to say no matter how old they are, but I'll refrain from saying that because,
Well, you said it, Peter. Yeah, you said it. It's out there.
But, yeah, I mean, they're the favorites, no doubt. However, with the Heat, the way they're playing, and I've always known they've had some solid defense this whole season, great defense. There was a little bit of a vibe of a Detroit Pistons, Los Angeles Lakers series, 2004. Whoops, did I go there, Ryan? I went there. Just a hint. Yeah, let my mind go wild for a minute here.
I don't see Chauncey out there. I don't see Rip Hamilton out there. I don't see Wallace is out there. But go ahead. I don't see Tayshaun out there. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
I believe in Eric Spoelstra. He's an Anak like us. He's got some Filipino blood. I do believe him, though. Seriously, I do believe that he's a great coach, and I think he could coach the hell of them. Hell, they got to the NBA Finals, and no one thought they would. So he's a hell of a coach. Jimmy Butler has been awesome in finishing games, awesome just in general in terms of proving that he really is worth the money that he was telling Minnesota and Chicago that he was worth, really validating that he really is a superstar. Maybe he's not the most talented, but I do love his passion for the game and his will to win. So that's I like that. I like those two things. I love their defense, and I love that their young guys were stepping up. But that's the thing. They were stepping up. They were playing over their head. So I wasn't sure if maybe once they got to the finals, would that become too much? Like I said, some pleasant surprises that we were going to talk about. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. They have played phenomenal basketball this postseason. 30-point games and whatnot, draining threes and clutch moments. They have been freaking awesome. And you know what? Coming to the series, I really, really felt like, if they're going to continue this, I felt like Tyler Hero was going to hit a clutch shot down the stretch. That was a TBH right there. But now that I've seen game one, the momentum has shifted big time. So I'll let you go ahead. What did you think going into this finals?
So
the other day.
pre-series, I had the Lakers in 5. And obviously, I'm not gonna lie to you, Peter. There's some bias in that.
Sure.
I think if I take the bias out, I would say Lakers in 6. But I'm going to stick to my pre-series bias, and I'm going to say Lakers in 5. Reason being, I'm trying to think. You can't beat LeBron and AD 4 times in a 7-game span. That's an awfully tough task.
Now that they're there too, they
have that confidence. They have that chemistry. Obviously, they have that motivation, extra motivation, I should say, for Kobe, if you will. But also, I have to remain non-biased. And the reason why is because I was looking at it and I said, okay, LeBron and AD, those 2 players alone, they're the 2 best players in the series, on either side of the ball. However, when you look down the list, the Heat have probably the best 3 through 7. With Jimmy, with Bam, with Goran, with Tyler. You can even insert, Duncan Robinson when he's shooting hot like that. Forget about it. So I'm like, yes, Miami has depth. Lakers have the 2 best players. And so that's kind of like my outlook on it. And obviously before the series is all before the series. It's just all analyzing it. But I think what we saw yesterday, that begged a different question. And it was, LeBron and AD are too much. And once you even start adding the names of Rajon Rondo and you start adding Dwight Howard getting every rebound that's available and adding that spark, if KCP's hitting his threes, if Danny Greenbean is hitting his threes, it's going to be tough for the Heat.
Yeah.
And not even mentioning the injuries that they had yesterday. I mean, I wish no injury upon anybody. And it was tough seeing Goran and even Jimmy. Jimmy was hobbled yesterday too as well.
He still, a few times.
Yeah, he still managed to play through it. But Goran and Bam also, they're doubtful to even play game 2. It begs the question that the Heat really now don't have enough, especially minusing those 2 guys off. But to your point though, before the series and how the Heat got here, it wasn't like they beat nobody to get here. I mean, they swept the Pacers, so the Pacers are the Pacers. But, I mean, to beat the Bucks how they did and to beat the Celtics, I mean, those 2 opponents right there, they're quality opponents. Opponents that we both had in our predictions going very, very far. So can't take anything away from the Heat. It's just, I think, matchup-wise, it doesn't bode well for the Heat. I think that the Lakers are too big. They're too talented. And it just comes down to Miami. They need to really make every shot that they get because Lakers defensively, I mean, they're playing the best defense I've seen them play all year. They're playing unit defensive basketball. And I think it's going to really take that magical hero 40-point game or, Duncan Robinson hitting every 3 he makes game for them to even compete. Because yesterday, Tyler Hero only took 3 shots in the whole game. He played over 20 minutes. I mean, that's just either a testament to how the Lakers defended him or just a matter of he wasn't aggressive, shied away from the moment. So we'll see how the rest of the series progresses. But at this moment in time, I'm going to still stick with Lakers in 5. I know I mentioned all the broom talk, but I still think that Heat will get 1 game. I don't know which game it will be, but I think they'll get one game, but the Lakers will still always have that stranglehold on the series. I think that the Lakers will win it in 5 pretty easily.
Good take. Very good take. And I hear you. That's just the thing. I hear you. I mean, the injuries are killer for the Heat.
Yeah.
They needed every bit of strength that they had. I mean, they were playing absolutely awesome basketball together. It wasn't just one guy. Hell, I chat also Andre Iguodala, making 6 straight finals. I mean, he's a key piece, just a key veteran to keep them going. And, when you lose Goran Dragic, who I saw was averaging 20 points in the playoffs, I mean, that's hell of a number for a guy his age, and maybe people thought he was washed up. I mean, 20 points that's awesome basketball. And I didn't even know that Bam had gotten hurt, but I mean, if they don't have Bam, dude, they don't have any big men. What are you going to put Kelly Olynyk, Myers Leonard?
Yeah. Olynyk and Myers Leonard on AD and Dwight, that is asking a lot.
Yeah.
I mean
they're
Bam
putting Crowder on AD, which is
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have anyone to match up with AD. You can probably stop LeBron, but when it comes to AD and he's stepping up his game,
Yeah.
that's a tough ask, man.
It's a tough ask. And just quickly looking over the overall how each team fared, the team statistics. I mean, 3-pointer wise, Lakers shot almost 40%,
Yeah.
39.5 to the Heat's 31.4. Lakers out rebounded the Heat by 18. Offensive rebounds out rebounded them by 4.
Goodness.
They had 3 more steals, 3 more blocks. The Lakers turned it over a little bit more, but Heat just couldn't capitalize. They weren't making shots. And I think they started the game off very, very well. Very similarly to how they've been playing in the past series. So I was like, oh, shoot, like this is the same Heat. They're carrying over, no fear. But I think once Lakers settled in and they found their rhythm to how they wanted to play, the game turned out to a blowout, 30-point, lead at one point. So, man,
I don't know.
Lakers, I mean, although we didn't see the Clippers, we got here. And I think that this is our moment. We can't choke now. We can't choke now. We're up 1-0. We can't choke now. We got to go into game 2 with that right mindset. And like I've mentioned, sometimes we get a little complacent. Little bit complacent. So I want to see that same energy that we had pretty much in the second and third quarter translate into game 2, because we did kind of fall off in game 4. I mean, game 1 in the fourth quarter, we kind of let them back in it, never to a point where they had a shot at winning the game, but still that 30-point lead shrunk to, I think, a 12-point lead somewhere in that fourth quarter, which, I mean, that can't happen. That can't happen. So 4-1 Lakers. That's my prediction. I'm going to stamp on it. I'm going to stamp it and put it on the board, put everything on the board. 4-1. I think that the gentleman's sweep will come, and every series in the playoffs will be 4-1. I think this one will be 4-1 as well. Peter, final
predictions. I don't think the Lakers will. I think the shooting percentages will even out a little bit, and it won't be. At least that's what I'm. I don't think it's going to be a 30-point blowout each game. I think it's at least going to be competitive somewhere along, and especially with those injuries. God, man, that's tough. I might have to agree with you. A gentleman's sweep. That's a tough ask, man. If Bam and Goran aren't playing, it's hard for me to say that they're gonna to get it done. I mean, honestly, if they were all healthy and playing like they had been doing, I really thought maybe they could do a 6-7 game series. But I'm telling you, that's a tough ask.
It's
with
a tough
AD and
ask.
LeBron.
Yeah.
So.
And AD, this is his moment too. And someone that, I mean, he said it yesterday too. I mean, he's always been dreaming and waiting for this moment. And he's at that final stage, and he's at that big stage where the spotlight's on him. And game 1, he showed it. He showed out. Very impressed with him. And someone that I'd also do an honorable mention for too. I mentioned him just a little bit earlier, but Rajon Rondo, what he adds from the bench, just from a energy standpoint, and how he impacts the game, and his creativity and his just knowledge and everything all around. I mean, you bring him onto the court and it elevates our team tremendously, especially when we don't have LeBron out there making plays. So someone I'd like to give an honorable shout out to. But outside of that,
Tough to mention as a Pelicans fan.
Yeah, I know. I'm mentioning two guys that are former Pellies, but Lakers 3 games away, 3 wins away from that elusive championship that we've waited 10 years for. Last championship coming against Boston in Game 7 of the 2010 finals. This one obviously with different stakes, with different meaning behind it because of the loss of, basketball legend Kobe Bryant. This is for him. I know that this is for him, but at the same time, I know that we're staying motivated. Everyone wants it. That's all I got for you, Peter. Anything else to add?
I think that you hit it right on the head, man. This is pretty much it. Pretty much it for the NBA bubble season, the longest NBA season ever. Really,
It felt. I mean, to put it together, it's felt like 2 separate seasons, just the length of it. But I think it's finally coming to a conclusion. And throughout all of this, COVID pandemic affecting professional sports, I think I got to give a tip of my hat to the NBA and what they've done in the bubble, as far as making sure everyone's in a safe environment, not taking anything away from the game of basketball, creating a fair environment for all the players there. They've done a fantastic job to conclude this hectic and unprecedented season. But yeah, and who knows when the next season is going to start. I don't think there's a set date yet.
Yeah.
But that's looking a little bit too far again, as we still have a few more games to be played of this season. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you guys enjoyed our content, please do us a huge favor, and it means a lot to us to hit that subscribe button. But yeah, other than that, we hope all of you guys are staying safe, being well. We love you guys. Peter, Ryan, we outie.
Peace.